Hello, welcome to Professor Headbanger YouTube channel. And today I will tell you about Pantera, one of the most valuable bands in the metal music community. I am sure you will like it very much. If you're ready, let's start. Pantera was an American heavy metal band from Arlington, Texas. It was formed in 1981 by the Abbott Brothers drummer Vinnie Paul and guitarist Dimebag Darrell, along with vocalist Terry Glaze. Bassist Rex Brown joined the band the following year. Looking for a new and heavier sound, Pantera replaced Glaze with Phil Anselmo in 1987. Having started as a glam metal band, Pantera released 4 albums during the 1980s. The band was originally named Pantera's Metal Magic and consisted of Vinnie Paul Abbott on drums, Dimebag Darrell Abbott, called Diamond Darrell at that time, on guitar, Donnie Hart on vocals, Terry Glaze on guitar, and Tommy Bradford on bass. In 1982, the band was renamed Pantera in order to shorten the name and to settle an agreement between all band members. Hart left the band because he did not agree with the band's ethics, and Terry Glaze became the group's vocalist, leaving Darrell as the solo guitarist. Later that year, Bradford also departed and was replaced by Rex Brown, then known as Rex Rocker. Pantera became an underground favorite, though its regional tours in this era never took them beyond Texas, Oklahoma, and Louisiana. The band began supporting fellow heavy metal acts such as Stryper, Dokken, and Quiet Riot, who in turn promoted Pantera's debut, Metal Magic. Metal Magic was released on the band's record label of the same name in 1983 and produced by the Abbott brothers' father, Jerry Abbott, referred to as the LDN, at Pantego Studios. The following year, Pantera released its second album, Projects in the Jungle. Though still very much a glam metal album, the band members crafted songs that had less overbearing melodic influences than songs from Metal Magic. Another change was Terry Glaze's name, as he was henceforth credited as Terrence Lee. In addition, a music video for the album's lead track, All Over Tonight, was eventually created. Projects in the Jungle was also released on the band's independent Metal Magic Records label and produced by Jerry Abbott. In 1985, Pantera again released a full-length album on Metal Magic Records, entitled I Am the Night. As with Projects in the Jungle, this album saw Pantera's sound becoming heavier, though still rooted in glam metal, and the heavy metal press took more notice of the band. Because of poor distribution, I Am the Night was a costly album to many fans. Around 25,000 copies of I Am the Night were sold. Pantera's second music video was produced for the track Hot and Heavy.
Wow.
1986 and 1987 saw the release of several landmark thrash metal albums that would prove influential to Pantera's developing musical style. Among the most prominent of these were Metallica's Master of Puppets, Slayer's Reign in Blood, Anthrax's Among the Living, and Megadeth's Peace Cells. But who's buying? Terrence Lee's glam approach did not fit the band's new outlook, and he and the other members parted ways, beginning the search for his replacement. Terrence then went on to form rock group Lord Tracy. The band went through temporary vocalists Rick Mithiasen, also known from Steel Prophet Agent Steel, Dave Peacock, and Matt Lamour, before eventually discovering New Orleans native Phil Anselmo in 1986. Anselmo had previously been the vocalist for the bands Samhain, not to be confused with Glenn Danzig's band of the same name, and Razor White. Upon playing with Pantera, Anselmo immediately clicked with the other 3 members. More than just the band's image was changing, however. In 1988, Pantera released its first album with Anselmo, entitled Power Metal. By far the band's heaviest album at this point, Power Metal was a mix of 1980s glam metal and thrash metal, sometimes blending both styles in a single song. Complementing the band's new sonic approach were Anselmo's harder-edged vocals compared to those of Terrence Lee. After the release of power metal, the band members decided to seriously reconsider their glam metal sound and image. Referring to the band's spandex appearance, Vinnie Paul remarked at a band meeting that, "These magic clothes don't play music, we do. Let's just go out there and be comfortable, jeans, t-shirt, whatever, and see where it goes." As with the previous three 1980s albums, power metal was released on Metal Magic Records. Power metal showed a change in their sound. The band members would later ignore their independent releases, including power metal, as they sculpted a new, heavier image to accompany their later groove metal sound. Their 4 independent albums are not listed on the band's official website and have become hard-to-find collector's items. Shortly after power metal was released, Diamond Darrell, as he was then known, auditioned for Megadeth's vacant guitarist slot and was invited to join the band. Darrell insisted his brother, bandmate Vinnie Paul, be included, but because Megadeth frontman Dave Mustaine had already hired a drummer, Nick Menza, Darrell declined, and Mustaine instead decided on Marty Friedman. The Abbott brothers refocused their attention on Pantera, and in 1989 they were given their first shot at commercial success. 1989 was also when the band formed their relationship with Walter O'Brien at Concrete Management, the management arm of Concrete Marketing, who remained their manager until they disbanded in 2003. After being turned down 28 times by every major label on the face of the earth, Atco Records representatives Mark Ross and Stevenson Eugenio were asked by their boss, Derek Schulman, who was interested in signing Pantera, to see the band perform after Hurricane Hugo stranded them in Texas. Ross was so impressed by the band's performance that he called his boss that night, suggesting that Pantera be signed to the label. Atco Records accepted, and at the close of 1989, the band recorded its major label debut at Pantego Studios. Released on July 24, 1990, and produced by Terry Date and Pantera, Cowboys from Hell was another leap into heavier territory. Pantera showed a more extreme style on this outing, leaving behind its glam metal influences in favor of an amalgamation of thrash metal and groove metal dubbed power groove by the band. Although Anselmo still used Eric Adams-influenced falsetto vocals, he also adopted a more abrasive delivery. Darrell's more complex guitar solos and riffs, along with his brother's faster-paced drum work, were evidence of the band's extreme transformation. The album marked a critical juncture in the band's history. Many fans, as well as the band itself, consider it Pantera's official debut. Cowboys included the tracks Cemetery Gates, a brooding 7-minute piece that focuses on death and religion, and the thrashing title track, which gave the band members their nickname and asserted their raucous personality and style. So began the Cowboys from Hell tour alongside thrash acts, Exodus, and Suicidal Tendencies. In 1991, Rob Halford performed with the band on stage, which led Pantera to open for Judas Priest on its first show in Europe. The band eventually landed a billing for Monsters in Moscow with AC/DC and Metallica in September 1991, where they played to a crowd of over 500,000 in celebration of the new freedom of performing Western music in the Soviet Union shortly before its collapse 3 months later. The band was often found at the Dallas club The Basement, where the band shot the videos for Cowboys from Hell and Psycho Holiday. Pantera's 2006 home video compilation 3 Vulgar Videos from Hell features performances of Primal Concrete Sledge, Cowboys from Hell, Domination, and Psycho Holiday from the show in Moscow. Pantera's unique groove style came to fruition in its breakthrough album, Vulgar Display of Power, released on February 25, 1992. On this album, the power metal falsetto vocals were replaced with a hardcore-influenced shouted delivery and heavier guitar sound, which firmly cemented the band's popularity among mainstream and underground fans alike. Two other singles from the album became two of Pantera's most notable ballads. This Love, a haunting piece about lust and abuse, and Hollow, somewhat reminiscent of Cemetery Gates from Cowboys. The band would play the song Domination from Cowboys, leading into the ending of Hollow, what is roughly the last 2:30 of the album version, forming a medley referred to as Dom Hollow, as can be heard on the band's 1997 live album. Singles from Vulgar also received significant airplay on radio, as did the companion music videos on MTV. The album entered the American charts at number 44. Pantera hit the road again, visiting Japan for the first time in July 1992, and later performing at the Monsters of Rock festival co-headlined by Iron Maiden and Black Sabbath in Italy. It was around this time that Darrell Abbott dropped the nickname Diamond Darrell and assumed Dimebag Darrell, and Rex Brown dropped the pseudonym Rex Rocker. Far Beyond Driven, released on March 22, 1994, debuted at number 1 in both United States and Australian album charts. The album's first single, I'm Broken, earned the band's first Grammy nomination for Best Metal Performance in 1995. Driven saw Pantera continue its groove metal approach while taking an even more extreme direction with its musical style. The album's original artwork, a drill bit impaling an anus, was banned, so it was re-released with the now familiar skull impaled with a drill bit. A limited edition was released with a slipcover case. Also, a boxed set called Driven Down Under Tour. 94 Souvenir Collection was released in Australia and New Zealand to coincide with the tours there. It featured Far Beyond Driven, with its original band artwork, with a bonus 13th track, The Badge, a Poison Idea cover, the 5-track Alive and Hostile EP, and the Japanese collector's edition Walk EP, all presented in a special cardboard box with an 8-page color biography. Pantera hit the road again and toured South America, along with being accepted into another Monsters of Rock billing. At that festival on June 4, 1994, the Abbott brothers got into a scuffle with journalists from the music magazine Kerrang over unflattering cartoon depictions of drummer Vinnie Paul. Then, in late June, Anselmo was charged with assault for hitting a security guard after he prevented fans from getting on stage. Anselmo was released on $5,000 bail the next day. The trial was delayed 3 times. In May 1995, he apologized in court and pleaded guilty to attempted assault and was sentenced to 100 hours of community service. Pantera continued their tour of the United Kingdom in 1994 and eventually ended it in the United States, where the band was opened for by fellow groove metal band Prong. According to the Abbott brothers, frontman Phil Anselmo began behaving strangely and distanced himself from the band when they returned to the road in 1995. The rest of the band members first thought that Pantera's perception of his fame had gotten to Anselmo, but Anselmo cited back pain from years of intense performances as the reason for his erratic behavior. Anselmo attempted to subdue his pain through alcohol, but this, as he admits, was affecting his performances and putting some worry into the band. Doctors predicted that with surgery, Anselmo's back problem could be corrected, but that the recovery time could be a year or more. Not wanting to spend that much time away from the band, Anselmo refused and began using heroin as a painkiller. Anselmo's on-stage remarks became notorious during this time. After stating at a Montreal concert that rap music advocates the killing of white people, Anselmo denied accusations of racism and later issued an apology, stating that he was drunk and that his remarks were a mistake. In 1995, Down, one of Anselmo's many side projects, took off. Down was a supergroup consisting of Anselmo, 3 members of Crowbar, guitarist Kirk Winstein, bassist Todd Strange, and drummer Jimmy Bower, also of I Hate God, and Corrosion of Conformity guitarist Pepper Keenan. Down's 1995 debut, NOLA, was a success, but shortly after the group members returned to their respective bands, leaving Down inactive for several years. Pantera's next album, the The Great Southern Trendkill, was released on May 22, 1996, and is often considered Pantera's overlooked album. Phil Anselmo recorded the vocals for this release in Nine Inch Nails frontman Trent Reznor's studio in New Orleans, while the rest of the band members recorded in Dallas, evidence of the continued distancing between Anselmo and the rest of the band. In comparison to the band's previous efforts, there was a heavier emphasis on vocal overdubbing in a somewhat demonic fashion. Drug abuse is a recurring theme in Trendkill, as exemplified by tracks such as Suicide Note Part 1, Suicide Note Part 2, and Living Through Me, Hell's Wrath. Drag the Waters became the album's only music video, and likewise the only track from the album to appear on the band's compilation album. Another Trendkill single, Floods, achieved acclaim largely because of Daryl's complex guitar solo in the song, which ranked number 15 on Guitar World magazine's list of the 100 greatest guitar solos of all time. On July 13, 1996, Anselmo overdosed on heroin an hour after a Texas homecoming gig. After his heart stopped beating for almost 5 minutes, paramedics gave Anselmo a shot of adrenaline, or possibly Narcan, and sent him to the hospital. After waking up in the hospital, the nurse working in his room said, "Welcome back to life, oh, and you have overdosed on heroin." Anselmo apologized to his bandmates the next night and said he would quit using drugs. The revelation of heroin use came as a shock to Vinny and Daryl, who were embarrassed by Anselmo's actions, according to Rita Haney, the guitarist's girlfriend. Anselmo said after which he relapsed twice and was overcome with guilt. Some of the band's live performances were eventually compiled in its July 29, 1997 release, Official Live, 101 Proof, which included 14 live tracks and 2 new studio recordings, Where You Come From and I Can't Hide. 2 weeks before the live album's release, Pantera received its first platinum album for Cowboys from Hell. Just 4 months later, both Vulgar Display of Power and Far Beyond Driven went platinum as well. The band also received their second and third Best Metal Performance Grammy nominations for Trendkill's Suicide Note, Part 1, and Cowboys' Cemetery Gates in 1997 and 1998, respectively. The release of their video 3, Watch It Go, earned them a 1997 Metal Edge Reader's Choice Award, when it was voted Best Video Cassette. Also in 1997, Pantera played on the main stage of Ozfest alongside Ozzy Osbourne, Black Sabbath, Marilyn Manson, Typo Negative, Fear Factory, Machine Head, and Powerman 5000. Additionally, the band played on the 1998 UK Ozfest tour alongside Black Sabbath, Ozzy Osbourne, Foo Fighters, Slayer, Soulfly, Fear Factory, and Therapy, as well as touring with Clutch and Neurosis. Around this time, Anselmo ventured into more side projects, such as playing guitars on Necrophagia's 1999 release Holocausto de la Mort, where he went as the alias Anton Crowley, which combines the names of Church of Satan founder Anton LaVey and occultist Aleister Crowley. He also temporarily joined the black metal supergroup Iban and contributed to that band's 2000 release. Another one of Anselmo's Anton Crowley projects was black metal band Viking Crown. The Abbott brothers and Rex Brown began their own country metal crossover project, Rebel Meets Rebel with David Allan Coe, around the same time. Fans of the NHL's Dallas Stars were treated to a raucous fight song penned by Pantera and dedicated to their favorite hockey team during the Stars' 1999 Stanley Cup Championship run. Throughout the season, members of the team befriended members of Pantera. During a Stanley Cup party hosted by drummer Vinnie Paul, the Stanley Cup was damaged when Guy Carbonneau attempted to throw the cup from the roof of Vinnie Paul's house into his pool. The cup landed short on the concrete deck and had to be repaired by NHL-commissioned silversmiths. Pantera returned to the recording studio with Anselmo in 1999 and cut its last album, Reinventing the Steel, which was released on March 21, 2000. Steel debuted at number 4 on the Billboard 200 and included Revolution Is My Name and Goddamn Electric. the latter of which featured a Kerry King outro solo recorded backstage in one take during Ozfest in Dallas. Revolution Is My Name became the band's fourth nomination for Best Metal Performance in the 2001 Grammys. In 2000, Pantera played on the main stage of Ozfest alongside Ozzy Osbourne, Godsmack, Static X, Methods of Mayhem, Incubus, Piad, Black Label Society, Queens of the Stone Age, and Apartment 26. In November, the band canceled their planned tour after Anselmo broke his ribs after falling during his 8th annual House of Shock event. The band once again returned to touring and visited the United States, where they were guest musicians on the show SpongeBob SquarePants in the episode Pre-Hibernation Week, performing the song Death Rattle from Reinventing the Steel, Canada, South Korea, Australia, and Europe. The tour in Europe was cut short, however, by the September 11th, 2001 attacks which left the band stranded in Dublin, Ireland for 6 days as a result of all flights being canceled. Pantera played their last show in Yokohama, Japan at the Beast Feast Festival on the 28th of August 2001. This would be the last time the members of Pantera performed together. Back home, the band planned to release its fourth home video in summer 2002 and record another studio album later that year, but neither came about. Anselmo again engaged in numerous side projects. In March 2002, Down released its second studio album, Down 2, A Bustle in Your Hedgerow, which featured Rex Brown on bass following Todd Strange's departure in 1999. Brown remained Down's full-time bassist until 2011, having appeared on their subsequent release in 2007. Also, in May of that year, Anselmo's Superjoint Ritual released its debut, Use Once and Destroy. Vinnie Paul claims that Anselmo told him he would take a year off following the events of September 11, 2001, but Anselmo's touring and record output for both Superjoint Ritual and Down contradicted this. The Abbott brothers were frustrated and held out for a time, assuming Anselmo would return. However, according to Anselmo, taking a break from Pantera was a mutual thing between each of the band members. Pantera disbanded in 2005. Their Best Of compilation album was released on September 23, 2003. In July 2004, Vulgar Display of Power went double platinum, and The Great Southern Trendkill went platinum the next month. After Pantera's breakup, Daryl and Vinnie formed a new band, Damage Plan, with vocalist Pat Lockman and bassist Bob Zilla. The group released their first album, Newfound Power, on February 10, 2004. The album was a commercial success. Over 44,000 copies were sold in its first week alone, and within a year, over 100,000 copies were sold. However, some fans felt that Damage Plan's material did not measure up to that of Pantera. Tragedy struck on December 8, 2004. Damage Plan was performing in support of their album at a show at the Alrosa Villa in Columbus, Ohio, when, less than a minute into the first song of their set, Nathan Gale, 25, went on stage and shot and killed Daryl. Gale also killed fan Nathan Bray, 23, club employee Aaron Halk, 29, and Pantera security official Jeff Mayhem Thompson, 40, and injured longtime Pantera and Damage Plan drum technician John Cat Brooks and Damage Plan tour manager Chris Paluska before being shot dead by Columbus police officer James Niggemeyer. No motive has been given as to why Gale killed Dimebag Darrell, but early theories, which were dismissed by police, suggested that Gale, who was reported to have suffered from schizophrenia, was angered over Pantera's breakup and resorted to violence. In a number of interviews, some of Gale's friends suggested that he claimed that he had written songs that were stolen by Pantera. When Anselmo called in the aftermath of the murders, Rita Haney, Daryl's girlfriend, answered one of Anselmo's calls and said she would blow Anselmo's head off if he attended Daryl's funeral. He was buried with Eddie Van Halen's black and yellow striped Charvel electric guitar, sometimes referred to as Bumblebee, which was pictured with Van Halen on the inner sleeve and back cover of the album Van Halen 2. Dimebag had asked for one of these guitars in 2004, shortly before he was shot. Eddie Van Halen originally agreed to make Daryl a copy of the guitar, but upon hearing of Abbott's death, offered to place the actual guitar in his casket. Dimebag was buried in a Kiss casket. Inspired by the rock and roll group Kiss, he requested in his will that he be buried in one of the famous coffins. Kiss co-founder Gene Simmons said, "There were a limited number made, and I sent mine to the family of Dimebag Darrell. He requested in his will to be buried in a Kiss casket, as he sort of learned his rock and roll roots by listening to us for some strange reason." Not long after Darrell's murder, Anselmo received a heated message from Vinny, which, according to Anselmo, went along the lines that my Anselmo's day was coming. Anselmo's rebuttal was that everybody's day is coming, and that if his day should end before Vinny's, it would not change anything, except for Vinny to go through losing another brother. Public comments made by Phil Anselmo following the shooting suggested that he had considered reuniting with the band prior to Darrell's death. However, 1 year after the murder, Vinny stated in an interview that this reunion was never going to happen. On May 11th, 2006, the VH1 Behind the Music episode on Pantera premiered. While focusing heavily on Darrell's murder and burial, the episode also detailed the band's glam metal beginnings, the band's perceived rise in its own popularity after the change in musical direction, and the conflicts between Anselmo and the Abbott brothers in the band's later years that would tear them apart. When asked by Crave Music in 2006 if there was any chance of reconciling with Phil Anselmo, Vinnie Paul answered, "Absolutely not. That's it." The former Pantera drummer has since begun work on Hell Yeah, a collaboration between him and members from Mudvayne and Nothing Face. Both Anselmo and Brown have reunited with Down and supported Heaven and Hell and Megadeth on their 2007 Canadian tour, as well as supporting Metallica on the first half of their World Magnetic tour. In interviews in 2009 and 2010, both Rita Haney and Phil Anselmo have stated that after a meeting at Download 2009, they have patched up their differences and are once again on speaking terms. On March 30th, 2010, Pantera released a greatest hits collection titled 1990 to 2000, A Decade of Domination. It was made available exclusively at Walmart stores and is made up of 10 tracks that were remastered. On April 11th, 2012, at the Revolver Golden God Awards, a new song titled Piss was debuted after being discovered in the Pantera vaults by Vinnie Paul. A music video was made for Piss and shown at the awards show, and according to Vinnie Paul, this is the only complete, previously unheard Pantera track. It was recorded during the vulgar display of power sessions. During a 2012 appearance on That Metal show, when asked about the possibility of a Pantera reunion, Vinnie Paul said it would be possible if Dimebag Darrell were still alive. Despite being proud of his Pantera years, however, he indicated that there were no plans for a reunion, adding that some stones are better left unturned. On March 22, 2014, Pantera released a 20-year anniversary edition of Far Beyond Driven. All songs were remastered, and as a bonus, they released a live recording of their 1994 Monsters of Rock performance. The Great Southern Trendkill was reissued in 2016 for its 20th anniversary. The bonus content included instrumental versions, different mixes, demo takes, and live versions of the album's songs. Similar to Far Beyond Driven, no previously unheard compositions or non-album songs were included. On June 22, 2018, Vinnie Paul passed away at the age of 54, making him the second founding member of Pantera, following his brother, to die. Sources initially said that the cause of his death was a massive heart attack in his sleep, but on August 27, 2018, the official cause of death was revealed to be dilated cardiomyopathy and coronary artery disease. In 2020, Reinventing the Steel was also reissued for its 20th anniversary. It had consisted of the album's songs remastered along with alternate mixes, respectively Terry Date mixes, radio edits, and instrumental mixes. 5 non-album tracks, which were initially featured on soundtracks or as B-sides to the singles, were included as well. On July 13, 2022, Billboard reported that Brown and Anselmo will reunite in 2023 for Pantera's first major tour in 22 years, and it was announced that they had signed with Artist Group International to book a North American tour. Black Label Society Ozzy Osbourne guitarist Zakk Wylde and Anthrax drummer Charlie Benante were later announced as the respective fill-ins for Dimebag Darrell and Vinnie Paul. In today's video, I told about the Pantera band. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. For more content, you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Thanks for watching the video. See you in the next video. I, Professor Headbanger.